Yeah, that's how we feel too. R2 Guru with his NHL debut. The Stars win. They extend their point streak to 5 games, 4-0-1 during that span. Sean is here. Craig is here. John is here. I'm here. Sam will be here later. But more importantly, you're here to start our post-game show right now on DLLS. Yes, indeed. No better way to ring in the new year of 2025 than Roope Hintz getting a couple of big goals. Sean, in soccer, we call that a brace. Luddy's already switched off and said he's done for the show because we said soccer in the intro. Alongside Sean Shapiro, Greg Ludwig, I'm Owen Newkirk. Our producer, John Anderson, is here. A little bit later, we'll be talking with our little buddy, the Samando, a.k.a. Hot Sam. Boy, he's got a lot of nicknames now, doesn't he? We got Gilligan. We've got, he doesn't wear underwear. He's cute.
Commando
and today,
Sam, the plumber.
The plumber.
The plumber.
How about today? Today is Mr. Roadside Assistance. You got to bring your mic anywhere near you.
We're not going to accuse him of being a NASCAR driver, that's for sure.
No, or at least not part of the pit crew.
No.
Well, yeah. Take a look at that. We are going to bring that up when Sam joins us later in the show because, yeah, he's got a story to tell. But we have a story to tell too because the Stars got the win. And, you know, Sean, for all of the offense that the Stars did get tonight, what I thought was really impressive is they gave Ottawa, well, unfortunately, they gave them 2 goals, but then very little else.
Jake Oettinger had what we call the beer league shutout tonight, where effectively it's impossible to actually have the shutout because your defense is going to do something so abnormally stupid at some point that the puck's going to end up back in the net. So Jake Oettinger had the beer league shutout tonight, where the only reason that this game wasn't for rip was because Dallas decided that, and you should all go watch Luds rip apart the Stars defending and decision making in that clip. See, Luds, I watched what they put on Twitter too. It was other than 25 seconds or whatever the time was, they gave Ottawa nothing, and then they just decided to, I guess, make it more entertaining, but whatever.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it in full detail, but other than that, it was 24 seconds apart, the 2 Senators goals. Other than that, and the odd shorthanded breakaway to start the third period, I mean, which is perfect, right? In a 3-2 game, let's shoot it in the shin pads and see what happens. But other than that, I thought the Stars just completely suffocated the Senators offensively.
Yeah, there were a lot of things to like in this game, with the exception of a minute of it or so. I think they were playing north for the most part. There were pucks being directed at the net. There was net front traffic. Played for the most part well in their own zone. And Oettinger was good when he, again, I don't know if he was really tested a lot tonight, but he made the save. Like Sean said, I mean, and it's your top 2 defensemen, that went to sleep for 30 minutes. Or I don't want to say went to sleep. I just think sometimes they try to do more than they need to in certain circumstances.
Well, guess what we got? Yeah. Do we have a bell or something, John, tonight? Because we got a Stars power play goal. Yes.
We don't have much differentiation between
air
bells
horn?
here.
I think the air horn would be good for that one. There we go. A power play goal. Doesn't happen very often, but they got one, and it was a really, really nice play. And Sean, you and I have been talking about this a lot lately. This is why I want Roope Hintz playing in the bumper to be able to move between the mid slot and the top of the crease, because he gets his 17th goal of the year from Robertson and Heiskanen. It's a power play goal inside 5 minutes. He's a big body. He takes up space. He's hard to see around for goalies. That's where he needs to be.
It's exactly where he scores most of his goals at 5-on-5. There's times where he ends up there kind of, not by mistake, but there'll be a flow, and then he ends up over there. And to me, that's when the Stars' power play has been its most dangerous, is when Hintz is able to be in the middle, take up that space, use a little bit of skill to sometimes even exit and come back in. And yeah, I wrote about it today. You and I talked about it on the phone for quite a bit today, which we'll just now pretend was show prep. And
of course it was.
Exactly, it was show prep. And that's where Hintz needs to be in my mind, because I keep going back and forth to this, where you look at where they try to set him up in that half court offense, where they keep trying him on the flank, they keep trying to make him be the shooting threat, and it just feels like you're trying to force the wrong tool into the wrong spot right now. So he needs to be there as much as possible, and not just by mistake and flow and tracking pucks down.
Luds, I thought in Sean's piece that he posted on alldls.com this afternoon, no shameless plug at all.
No, not at all.
He pointed out that Roope's most dangerous attribute on the power play is coming down the wing on the rush. That's number one, right? He's so hard to defend when he's going at speed. But once you get in zone, which admittedly at times the Stars have had trouble getting set up on the power play this year, I just don't, and I think we've talked about this already, but I just don't think that half wall moving around out in the perimeter is where he's at his strength.
No, I mean, anytime he's going downhill as a defenseman, you're scared. I don't even know if it's the bumper position. I think it's right where he scores his goals is right on top of the crease. And I give him credit because I don't think he's got a really high pain threshold. We see him get hit with some pucks that, frankly, we could get hit with slippers on and they don't hurt that bad. And he drops, but
says the guy that got hit by more pucks than just about anybody.
Yeah, but to his
He needs some milk.
But to his credit, he always goes back there to the front of the net where he got that one tonight again. And he's got great hands. And he's willing to go there, and he finds a way to plant himself right on top of the crease. So and you're right. Like, he is, when he can come through, and Wyatt almost hit him with one on one of those entries tonight where Roope was flying through the middle of the ice. And if Wyatt could have got rid of it maybe a second earlier, they don't pick that puck up. That's the only time to me that entry is becoming a threat, because with his speed, and he goes directly to the net. Very rarely we see him go behind the net.
No.
You see other players enter the zone. They kind of go, well, I'm going to stay around here. Roope takes direct line. So, yeah, there's a reason he's got the goals that he has, because he pays the price to score a lot of those goals.
Sean, you picked up on something that Pete DeBoer said this morning in the media availability about what he sees as far as what Roope Hintz is, and kind of sounded like a little clairvoyance after he scored 2 more goals tonight.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, let's give some credit here. I think you were the one that asked the question after we did our show prep.
By the way, Ardell enjoys you being in the Arboretum.
Yes, it's a good setting. I did double check before the show. I said there's probably about 35 plants in here, and I was told that I wasn't too far off. There's probably about 40, so I wasn't too far off in that estimation in this room. So, but as far as
his oxygen levels are through the roof.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got great air quality in that room.
Yes,
does your hair count as one of those plants, Sean?
Oh, how about producer John from the corner? Just lobbing the grenade in, and I love it.
But you asked Pete about Hintz, and because one of the things that I pointed out in that piece and we're talking about is he's scoring goals at a pretty high pace, potentially a career high pace right now. The assists, the helpers haven't been there this season. Now, obviously, this is more like champagne problem type thing when you're nitpicking a guy at a career pace for goals, but he's got 2 assists in his last 30 games. And so you asked Pete about that, and he talked about how maybe Roope should have closer to 20 goals already because of some missed chances on breakaways. And when you hear that type of answer from Pete, and Pete is very polished, he's a lawyer by trade, we know that, he says, to me, I pick up on that as more of Pete views Hintz as a goal scorer. He said, he even mentioned maybe we're talking about 50 goals. He sees Roope as a guy who should be the career best pace of being around high 30s. No, that's not even enough for what Pete's looking for Roope. He wants to be a goal scorer that's scoring 45 to 50 goals. And it's a really interesting
Is that a realistic target for Roope Hintz?
If he's healthy and goes to the front of the net and does that with his playing style, yes. But with his inconsistencies throughout his career, for me, the answer is no. I think he has the tools, like the best. If you put Roope Hintz out there and he did what he did tonight, yeah, he can score 60 goals in a year. I don't think we've seen that consistently enough. So I think, yes. I think Pete's kind of asking for, can Roope find the way to do that, to be that? And but it does put an interesting lens for how we view Hintz when you think about when the coaching staff's biggest view and everything is like he's the goal scorer. And it's something where that's more how he's judged than anything else. That's just one of my bigger takeaways and one of the things that watching tonight, not clarity, but that's something that I watched tonight with that in mind. And obviously it didn't hurt that he scored 2 goals, but that's what you start watching every shift. You're like, okay, they view this guy as the goal scorer. It's not the setup man. It's not that. And that's okay with them. So
What do you make of all that?
I will go a step further. I would start working with him, in all honesty, being the Mike Modano when things changed for Mo.
Interesting.
The game changed for Mo when Hitchcock came along and had him be the guy that plays against top line forwards. I think Roope, you get into a series against Vegas, I play him against Eichel. You get against Connor McDavid, I play him against him because he can keep up with them. He can, and as long as he understands where to be on the ice, I don't see anybody skating away from him. And what it does, I think you learn how to play against those kind of guys, and you're seeing him kind of dip his toe in the water as far as penalty killing, things come like that. And that was the big sell to Mo. If you want to learn how to play against these guys, your next step is to kill penalties. And when you're a penalty killer with those kind of attributes, now all of a sudden the power play guys are a little bit concerned about where their shots are going because they know if a puck gets knocked down. Plus, offensive guys like that, they have the instincts to be able to read where passes are going. They can pick some of them off. So you're not as comfortable as a power play guy, not that I ever was or deserve to be, but you're not as comfortable because you have somebody that can read the play. Same as Wyatt. I think those two could be great penalty killers. I get a little edgy sometimes in their routes where they are in their own zone, but he can be that kind of guy. He can be that elite guy that can play on both sides of the puck, and it doesn't always have to be Miro or Essa out there, which you want them out there, but to have two guys like that and to be able to almost tag team them, it can take away from another team's offense.
Do you like Pete and Alain Nasruddin using Wyatt and Roope as like a second forward pairing on the penalty kill after Steele and Blackwell?
Yeah, I really like Steele and Blackwell. I think they do a really good job of it. And I can see where you would start with that pair, and then you get like a Wyatt and a Roope out there, and they take up maybe only 25, 30 seconds. And if you got 30, 40 seconds left, you send that first pair right back out there again. And then you can come back with your full third line or whatever you want, because it gives everybody a role, but there's a certain threat with those kind of guys out there. So I don't know if they'd ever do that. And I know there's always the threat of getting hit with a puck, and that was the line a long time ago. The idiots like us will go out there and play, because if we get hurt, there's more of you guys. We don't want to lose those other guys.
We're going to talk after the break. We have another couple minutes, Sean, so I'm going to give you back. We're going to talk after the break about the 2 pairs of quick strikes for each team. But just to go further on on Luddy's point.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too when you talk about that 25, 30-second shift. If you go through them, I haven't checked it after tonight, but Roope actually typically takes some of the quickest shifts on average for Stars forwards. They're typically 3 to 4 seconds quicker than everyone else on average. And that's been historical actually for the past 3 or 4 years. And so it's one of those things that fits well with what Luds is talking about. If you can find a way to get that as part of his MO on the penalty kill, it just becomes a quick conversation too. Like, your goal should be to go out there for as quick as possible. And that sets expectation and everything like that, where if Steele and Blackwell are setting the tone and they're putting pressure and everything like that, if you can get Hintz and Johnson out there and the thought process is quick as possible, that could mean clearing the puck. That could be winning a turnover. That could also mean scoring a goal at the other end. Like, you're all of a sudden adding some threat to that tier. And I love that idea that Lutz kind of brings up there, where he can go further with this.
And you're not taking away from his offense from playing against. No, I was going to, but you're not taking anything away by playing a top player, because with a guy like Roope that can skate with the puck and things like that, ideally you're spending more time in the offensive zone, which means the McDavids and Eichels are spending more time in their zone.
Yeah, and I love the idea of forcing those guys to defend.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Up next in the Stars DLLS post-game show, we are going to talk about 2 pairs of quick strikes for each team that ultimately decided the game right here on DLLS.
But now let's talk about a just about empty Herman Marshall bottle. Founded in 2010, Dallas County's first legal distillery since the repeal of Prohibition. Located in historic downtown Wiley, Texas, is proud to partner with the Guns N' Roses Foundation of North Texas on a single-barrel expression of its signature straight bourbon whiskey. The Guns N' Roses Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing immediate financial assistance to the families of fallen police officers and firefighters lost in the line of duty. They're built from the grain up through family, fellowship, and friends. So for every bottle of single-barrel straight bourbon whiskey, Herman Marshall donates 15% of its revenue to the Guns N' Roses Foundation of North Texas for those who went before. Stop into your closest goody-goody liquors and other fine retailers.
I think we need to get producer John a little Herman Marshall to get
Somebody
that
was trying
cough.
to throw me off, I think.
I
there.
mute
Didn't
my
work.
mic when I have to cough, guys. So
Didn't
no one
work.
can hear that.
Yeah, but we hear it, and you could use some Herman Marshall. Well, it's time for me to talk about the East-West Shrine Bowl, America's oldest college football all-star game, which is being held right here in Texas. On January 30th, be a part of history in the making at the 100th East-West Shrine Bowl at AT&T Stadium. Since 1925, the game has benefited Shriners' children's, and its mission is to provide innovative pediatric specialty care to improve and transform the lives of children. See some of the nation's top college football players play in this head-to-head competition ahead of the NFL draft. Some of the largest names in football have played in the East-West Shrine Bowl, like Tom Brady, Paul Hornung, Walter Payton, Roger Staubach, Lawrence Taylor, Doak Walker, and more. Current NFL players such as Brock Purdy, Isaiah Pacheco, and Zay Flowers have played in the games recently. The East-West Shrine Bowl has served as the starting point for many noteworthy NFL careers, including 80 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and more than 200 members of the College Football Hall of Fame. Tickets start at just $20. Visit shrinebowl.com to buy your tickets today. All right, let's talk about bad defense for a minute, or I should say bad puck management. And it started back in the first period, only about 3 minutes after the Stars took the lead. Luddy, what was Thomas Harley thinking on the Brady-Kachuk goal?
The easiest way I can sum that up is he wasn't. He was thinking what they typically think a lot when they're 5-on-5 is a little dink passes and a little, slide one here, slide one here. Again, we're going to look at this for you folks that don't have the game on TV or on your computer right now. Right off this face-off, Thomas has got the Harley Harley has the puck with plenty of time, right? And we got to look at Dumba, who's on his forehand side. All he has to do is just bump it back just look like it's going to the front of the net or the back of the net. And right away, Dumba's just going to pound it. But instead, he wants to take a step out for some reason. And instead of going behind the net, he wants to try to slide it to Matt Duchene. Duchene, right now, if you're looking, is looking at it. But as Harley takes a couple strides, Duchene starts to turn because he thinks that the puck is going to Dumba. And he's going to start heading over to the far side of the ice to make sure the puck gets out. But he doesn't, and he tries to go with a tiny little play up the middle. And that is all she wrote on that particular play. It's just and you could see his reaction right away. He's like, what was I doing? I just think you're taking something, you're trying to do more than you need to do. I mean, less is more, especially when you're killing a penalty. Your first job is to get the puck out of the zone, and Duchene does a good job getting the puck at least off the face-off there. And then he just wants to, I think about, I can just pop it here and maybe we're going to go the other way.
So the Stars took that first penalty at 5:23. Nils Lundqvist for tripping. They kill it off without a single shot on goal. And we're talking about 22 seconds after the end of the power play, that happens. Is that one of those difficult moments, Sean, maybe? Just the switch off between penalty killing and back to 5-on-5? Or is that just a total brain fart?
It's the second one. I mean, I'm not giving an excuse on that one. I'm not giving an excuse on that one. I mean,
okay, well, let's talk about the other one. 24 seconds later, it happened again, but this time, instead of making a bad decision, Miro gets puck jacked by Brady Kachuk, who scored the goal. This time, he steals it, fires it out in front, and Ridley Gregg makes it 2-1 Ottawa.
Yeah, on this one, though, he's got some pressure on him, right? Miro's got some pressure on him, and he kind of stops and turns, and he escapes that player. And Kachuk actually is in front of the net at the time. I don't think he expects Kachuk to jump like he did. Kachuk immediately jumps on him, gets on his back. I don't think when Miro took off, he didn't expect him there, and he didn't realize how close he was because he just a little lift of the stick, and Miro's already passed it. And then obviously it's a nice pass to Ridley, and it's it's in the net. It's a good shot and goal. But again, you've got your top two defensemen in the matter of 30, 40 seconds that are making plays that you shouldn't normally make.
And Sean, you were talking about goaltending earlier because Jake didn't have to face a lot of shots at all. The volume was very low. Is there anything on that one? Because he had no chance on the first one. It's a great shot.
Yeah, it's a great shot. I have a hard time putting anything on him there. If he makes that save, it's a great save. You don't like the 2 goals on the first 3 shots, but this one. It's hard for me to find much fault for Oettinger on that one. It's a great save if he makes it, but I put that way more on the turnover.
Sean, I want there is a. Do you have those clips, John?
I have the screenshot of Duchene turning his back.
We've got a clip here, and the thing is when we're looking this again, this is a little giveaway here. This is where Kachuk has got the puck. He's below the goal line, right? But on the far side of the ice is Matt Duchene. Matt Duchene has his back turned to the net, and because he's getting ready to take off. Jamie Benn also, right after this, Jamie Benn is ready to take off, right? Because I believe that they think that, the puck is coming out of the zone. But my point is you have to expect sometimes bad things to happen. What I don't like is we're swinging away from the middle of the ice. When there's turnovers, you're better off being in the middle of the ice so you could at least lend a hand or be in a shot lane or something like that. Because right now there is nobody in front of the net.
What about Wyatt?
Yeah.
Right at the post.
Wyatt's where he's supposed to be. Wyatt's in an area because if there's a little bump, if the bump of the puck goes one way or another, Wyatt's in a good spot. Now, immediately, I don't know if Wyatt knows that really Greg is up in the high slot, but if he does, his stick would have to be in a passing lane. But I think he got puck jacked so quick that it caught probably Wyatt off guard for a second too. But my problem in the whole thing is, Miro should have probably, or did anybody give him a yell like heads up, like he's coming? I don't know. But it's the other 2 guys, the high guys, Benn and Duchene. Look they're both on the face-off dots. Like, you got to be inside those hash mark area, at least if something like this happens. You make sure that you've got control of the puck, then you can take off from there. Here, again, like I said, they're not expecting anything bad to happen, and unfortunately it does.
So that's the bad. 2 goals, 24 seconds. Stars get another power play, and I'm not going to go point to point because we got to move along, but they had 3 high-danger chances. Poor Logan Stankoven may never score another goal as it's to 20 games without a goal for the Stars rookie. Duchene had a great chance late in the period. High dangers were there. They just didn't score. They're down a goal. Going to the second period, I thought Dallas had a pretty poor start offensively to period 2. It was Ottawa that was the better of the 2. They had 1 chance on a power play where Greg had a nice redirection tip play in the slot, forced a good save from Oettinger, maybe his best of the night. Because after that, the turning point was the Jamie Benn goal. Not because it was such a great chance. It took a deflection off of Herman and went up and off the crossbar and in. That was a bit of a good shot, fortuitous deflection, ties the game. It was the next shift, 1 minute and 5 seconds between goals as Roope Hintz scores from Jason Robertson. And this was a really confident play by Robo to make a little drop pass at the top of the crease to the low slot to Roope.
Well, I think when that 4th goal, the 2-2 goal of Benn's goes in, it took a little bit of steam out of them because now all of a sudden, they're feeling good about themselves. 2 quick goals. Then all of a sudden Jamie's goes in and it shouldn't go in. Goaltender probably feels bad about that. But, the Roope goal, yes, Roope is one that's like, okay, here comes the avalanche. But again, I give a ton of credit to Robo on this one. Robo's got the puck in front of the net, and he's actually trying to get it, so I think he can wrap it, but he kind of keeps getting tied up. The key is he keeps hanging on to the puck, and it allows Roope to get into a little bit tighter area where he can get it to him because he ultimately, right at the end of it, Robo's got no place to go with the puck. He can't get it to the net, and he spots Hintz 2 feet away from him, and he just basically hands it off, and then, Hintz finishes it.
Sean, did Jason Robertson look better to you tonight than he has most of the season?
Yes, I thought this was one of his better games. I thought he looked pretty strong. I thought there was some more confidence. I mean, there's plays that are like the goal we just talked about. I know it's a simple little 2-foot shovel pass back to Roope for the better angle, but that's one of those where that's creativity. Like, it's instead of just shoveling it right back on net to the goalie like a lot of players would do. So yeah, I think there was a step it's a step positively for Jason Robertson tonight, and yeah, he was good.
Robertson is looking at the score sheet and his stats, and they keep going up, and and now he understands, and now they're whether he's shooting, because I thought the first goal that was scored, it starts with Robo getting the puck off of the draw, and he's out high, but he immediately takes a shot to the net. And then everybody followed up from there. There were more pucks on the power play being directed towards the net tonight. And again, he's finding that he's throwing more pucks to the net, and he's collecting points one way or another. So, and what that did, and there was a couple times we talked about it, he won a couple battles along the wall that we didn't see him win a week or two ago. So I just think that he's feeling better about his game. He's got more confidence, and I really do believe that there's players like this that when the points are coming, they're willing to do a little bit more. They're willing to dig in a little bit more because now they're seeing results are coming, and now he's seeing the points that he wasn't getting early on. Now they're starting to add up for him.
And Sean, I made the point to Luddy during the third period, and he said it's probably mostly in Robertson's brain, in the mental side. But I just wonder if somewhere in it, whether it's all mental or if there is some physical, if he's just, or maybe just the burden is gone, but now that lack of summer training because of surgery and playing, he's played 3 months now. I just wonder if he's feeling a little bit better, or is it all in his head?
I mean, I think I have a hard time justifying that slow start to the foot injury. Like,
yeah, but Sean, Owen's going to keep bringing that up, so eventually he can be right about the little bump or the corn that he had taken off his foot. I don't know what it was. I don't want to downplay it because I'm sure it was painful.
I mean, it's his head, and I know he dealt with something, but also maybe it's also like Lud's talked about him noticing stuff like after every shift, right? We see Jason Robertson like doing this, right? Just looking at the eye, like. So maybe he's noticing on the iPad, you know what? I can help set up my teammates a little bit more if, when I'm here, I go back here a little bit. Like, so maybe that's what it is. But
or you know what? And not to make it sound like I'm trying to fight to be right. You mentioned the other day that Yuri Lettinen didn't like playing if he didn't feel 100% healthy. Maybe Jason Robertson's one of those guys who's playing but just doesn't feel right because he's, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
okay. Owen, you're right. You're right. He had a sore
Don't
foot.
Lose your patience with me. Here we go. So, Sean, we go to the third period, and I said maybe Ottinger's biggest save.
I think his heart is a long way from his
that
toe.
Power play tip in the second period was good, but the save on Pinto shorthanded was even better. Yeah. What surprises me is you don't see Miro get blown away shorthanded like he did tonight that often. Yeah.
I mean, it's for a game that was, I guess it was the perfect night for Miro to make a couple mistakes, right? Like, he is human. And so in a game where you basically locked everything else down defensively. So like Miro made obviously the one on the goal. There's the one you're talking about, kind of losing the foot race there. Like, if I will take that in the long run of, if you can get Miro Heiskanen mistakes on January 2nd against Ottawa, as opposed to April 17th, I'm okay with it. Like, it's going to happen at some point with every player. So I'm okay putting the Miro mistake bucket in this game than somewhere else. So that's how I look at that, even though I don't like the play. We talked much earlier about the second goal, but yeah.
That was about it, though, Luds, in the third period as far as chances until the very end. Kachuk had a power play chance 6-on-4. Dallas absolutely suffocated them in the third as far as any chance creation. And then Wyatt Johnston made a heck of a play to set up the Duchene goal, give him some insurance.
Yeah, I mean, Wyatt, if you watch Wyatt closely, he's always got his head looking around. It's on a swivel, and he can do it at top flight. When he went behind the net, he read the play first off. A couple pucks got bouncing around. He comes down the wall. He picks the puck off. When he goes back, he's just starting to get to the close side of the net, behind the net. As he goes behind it, he takes one look over his right shoulder. Then he gets to the far side of the net, took a look again over his right shoulder. Then he stops, turns, and comes back. He knew where Matt Duchene was all the time. And I think you got to give Duchene some credit here, too. Duchene finds a way to make sure he's closer to the middle of the ice so that Wyatt doesn't have to go through that defenseman to get the puck to him. And Wyatt just makes the perfect pass.
And that gave them the insurance they needed. As I said, Sean, the one chance I didn't like that the Stars gave up was when they were shorthanded, 6-on-4, and Bradytkachuk gets a one-timer. He missed the net wide, but I would really like to not give up that one right in the heart of that defense.
Yeah, I agree.
So other than that, Stars get the win. They're now points in 5 straight games. They are 7-3-1 in their last 11. Look at that. Just moving right on up. And Winnipeg at least only got 1 point, losing in overtime to the Anaheim Ducks because they're chasing the Jets. Up next in the DLS Dallas Stars postgame show, let's get nuts. It's Super Chat time.
But first, we need to talk about the wonderful folks at Saturday Neon. Started by 2 college friends or buddies, Saturday Neon makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs perfect for your home, office, dorm, room, fan cave, or forest/arboretum. Check out their new Essential Collection featuring almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country and counting for only $75. They've got Texas, they've got Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, all the people who happen to be college football fans and also Stars fans watching this show. Unlike traditional neon, these LED signs won't break or shatter, but still give you that classic uniform glow that you know and love. And it looks like the LEDs even last up to 100,000 hours, so you'll be enjoying your sign for years. Head over to the SaturdayNeon.com and use the code DLLS for 10% off of your favorite sign.
All right, Sean, let's talk about something very fun, which is Sleeper. It just happens to be the best fantasy platform out there. Put your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Tomorrow night, the tired Anaheim Ducks, because they played tonight, although be it they won in overtime, they have to go to Edmonton. They're in Winnipeg tonight. So they got to travel to Alberta. Might as well double your money by taking Connor McDavid to score more than 0.5 goals. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries. You can stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time, so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS STARS to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest. Doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right. Stretch out that screen so we can read. Let's get to it. It's time for your chats and super chats. I see that we have several already. Oh boy. And we have...
I'm guessing he just saw the one from our boss.
Oh, no, the one that followed up the one from our boss. We've got some funny ones coming up here. So hit us up in the super chat.
In the chat.
Make sure you like the video you're watching live here on YouTube. Tell your friends. Let's get to it, John.
Bing bong.
The first one belongs to I Love Misty 1985, a little Marchment and Ludwig. Good to see the Stars get a win. Well, I was in Ohio watching the Blue Jackets lose after a late power play from a failed challenge on a tying goal. But the Wings get the kill, and the guy scores on a breakaway out of the box. Sean, this seems like it's geared toward you.
I mean, I was watching that game as well. At one point, I had 3 hockey games on the televisions in front of me in my living room. I had the Canada game. Another event in Ottawa, by the way. Another Ottawa event. Canada is out of World Junior. So Canadians knocked out in the quarterfinal of World Junior back-to-back years.
Moment of silence for Team Canada?
Yeah.
No,
let's move on.
Not a moment of silence. Play every horn you got.
Yeah.
Every buzzer should
Air
go
horn,
off.
John?
Tomahawk City.
The sky is falling, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Sky is falling.
Hockey Canada is not going to be a happy place the next little bit.
Meanwhile, the Americans play on Saturday. If they win, they will have a chance to win back-to-back gold for the first time ever. So that's we're just going to all celebrate that for a moment. So
Sean, they're going to blame it all on Justin Trudeau.
I like your political humor with the Prime Minister.
Kind of Canadian-ish.
Yeah. No, that was the. But then I did have the Detroit Columbus game on the other screen, and that was the Jonathan Berger and goal out of the box on the 5-on-4. Sorry, coming out of the box right after the penalty, and Detroit had challenged a game tying goal before and then lost that challenge, so that's why they were shorthanded. So yeah, but it was fun. So that was I'm sure if you were at that Detroit Columbus game, it was good back and forth and fun. But yeah.
All right, next one.
Bing bong.
Ardell, a little Lundqvist and Johnston tonight. Wyatt is good in all situations. Is he the Stars' most versatile forward? Does he lead the forwards in time on ice most games?
Every game. Every night I've looked, Wyatt has been the leading minute guy as forwards go.
20:59 tonight.
Yep. Every night. I don't even have to look, and I'm going to tell you, nobody had more.
None of the forwards. Nope.
No.
He's why?
Yeah.
He plays in all situations, and I think he's young, and his shifts may be a little bit longer, but it doesn't look like they're too long. And I think you want to keep him on the ice. He works hard he's very similar to Stankoven, except the puck's going into him or in for him. Like, he just continually works every shift he's out there, and he's got a high gear on him. You know, he's got a motor that runs.
Averages, because I pulled up the exact number, so he averages 19-14 a game right now. Next closest is Robertson at 17-46 for forwards. So if you want an idea of just how it's panned out over the whole season, you're looking about a minute and a half per game on average at least. That he's
Sean,
playing over
I know
anyone
it's
else.
different when they're rolling 4 lines, but with the injuries and kind of loading top heavy on their top 2 lines right now, and then playing better, do you think Hintz and Robertson's numbers might go up over the next month or so? As far as usage?
Well, I mean, now that his foot is completely healed, I'm sure.
Oh, here we go.
Sean, does it surprise you a little bit that Robo is next? I mean, and he doesn't get any PK time, and Roope does.
He does spend a lot of time out there on the power play, and I think that's part of it. There's times where sometimes you'll look and you watch, and most of the first unit will be off, and he'll still be the last one making the change. So I think that is part of it as well. So I'm not overly surprised by it, but I'm also sure it's a number that, honestly, probably I'm sure the coaching staff wouldn't mind if it was a little bit lower in the long run here. So
I would guess. Do you have the splits, like their average shift time? I'm just wondering how much less Rope's would be versus Robo's. I'm going to guess it's going to be 10 seconds.
Well, as Sean talked about earlier,
Yeah.
I remember when the coaching staff, I want to say it was Rick Bowness, was saying, or maybe even Jim Montgomery had said, we got to get Roope to stay on the ice a little longer because it was coming off like 25 seconds.
And I don't have the full breakdown for the exact average, but just to give you an idea. So like Robertson averages 17.46 a game, and he's taking about 20 shifts a game. Roope Hintz is averaging 20 seconds left and taking 3 additional shifts per game than Robertson.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what I talked about earlier with Roope when we were talking about the penalty kill thing. He takes the fastest shifts of anyone on this team. So he's taking 3 additional shifts per game over Robertson on average, and he's still playing less. That's the impact there.
Thought we had a sneeze there. All right, let's go to the next Bing Bong.
Bing bong.
AKA Super Chat. Oh, look, it's our general manager, our supreme overlord, Benn, a little DeSmith. And the year Luddy got his ring, second ring. I caught myself. We need some Robo feet picks for the diehards.
Yuck.
It's an HR violation.
I feel violated just saying that, which later in the chat,
power dynamics here.
I would just like to point out that they were laughing about it, and GM Benn responded with, half the fun of Super Chats is making Owen have to say things like, quote unquote, feet picks on camera. So thanks, boss. Let's go to the next one.
Did he super chat that response though?
He did not.
You didn't have to read that one, so you.
I didn't, but I wanted to call him out so you could see that he is in full troll mode.
He couldn't spare the extra $1.99.
Yeah.
He was the first person who ever put Pavelski in a super chat, knowing that we hadn't said it for 4 days. I'm getting around to it.
Okay, you forgot
I
about
have
it.
to reach for my physical.
All the bells.
And I will say, I don't think you really want to see any feet or foot pics of hockey players' feet, because
I know we see your feet every day in
they're
here.
fairly they're fairly crumbled and crumpled, sticking in
A little
the thing.
gnarly.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
When we're in the other studio, Luds loves to pop the top on his shoes.
Usually the flip-flops are in the corner and
I'm a Fred Flintstone kind of guy.
His toes are breathing. You got to get the feet buffed every now and then to make sure your brakes are working.
No.
I love it. Let's go to the next one.
Bing bong.
And has more to do with feet. A Lundqvist and Robertson from JT. My buddy's dad is a podiatrist. He says he can tell Robo had bad foot sickness for the first 30 games, but is now cured. Keen eye, Owen.
Yeah.
I swear JT must be a pseudonym
Yeah.
for Craig Ludwig.
My girlfriend's brother's dog's godfather is a podiatrist and said this. Here we go.
Well, sometimes you just have an eye for those things. All right, let's go to the next one.
Last one we have as of now.
Last one we have as of now. Eric Fote has a Heiskanen and a Zubov. Nice. Is it time to let Nils run a power play unit? Sean?
Yes.
Why?
We've gone over this many times. Like, we saw Miro is not running the first power play unit effectively. It's time to figure something out with that. And I've mentioned before, I think Thomas Harley should have more of that opportunity. And I think Lundqvist should. You want to give a player who's earned more opportunity and more of a chance to keep kind of growing and take that next step. I think he can do it. And I went back, I think it was the show on Monday or whatever. I talked about going back to and looking how he did it in the preseason when I pulled the video on that. So yes. Tonight was only another example to me that there needs to be other things messed around with on that. And Nils Lundqvist running a unit should be part of that.
Coaching question for you.
Yep.
Because Miro Heiskanen is not a bad quarterback on the power play. I just don't know if he's the most dangerous threat that the Stars have on their roster in that. So if you're a coach and you do want to take Sean's advice and say, let's give Thomas Harley the first unit, let's give Nils Lundqvist the second unit. How do you handle Miro Heiskanen to make sure that we all know he's an ultimate team guy, but how would you pose that to your best defenseman?
If you're doing that, and typically the first unit takes a minute 30 sometimes, minute 20, 25, somewhere in there, you put them both out there as a pair. And you put your next three forwards out there or whoever you want, and then Miro's out there. He gets his time in there if that's what you want to do. The one thing about Nils that I find, what he does is he gets the puck off of his stick. You'll find that Miro gets in and he might have to dance this guy, dance that guy, and then he keeps the puck a little bit. I'm not saying he makes bad plays with it, but what Nils does, when he sees a guy, he gives him the puck. And if he doesn't see a guy, he shoots the puck to the net. So it's just a little bit more direct, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Thomas to me is I think he's your best option because he's got a great shot. He's got he can dance a little bit. He sees people. He's got a highest
offensive skill guy on your back end.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he is. I mean, he's a guy that likes playing in that situation. I think his shot is qualified as a real good shot from the point. He makes good decisions for the most part. But I said this a couple nights ago, he will hang on the blue line. So, and where I think Miro's more conscious of that. He's not going to be someone that's going to turn the puck over, try to make one last little move to get by him. Harley will. So you may have to live with that.
With a couple more shorthanded chances or maybe a goal or two against.
You might, but again,
what do you think the trade? Do you think the trade-off is more offense?
I think there's going to be more chances. I think there's going to be more scoring chances. And I think when you have two guys that are like Harley and especially Nils, more pucks are going to get directed to the net. So the other four guys know that, and so they start to gravitate to the net to where if you've got someone that's making a play, out here, you don't want to, you're not really thinking I got to get to the net because the puck's going there. But I think right from the beginning tonight, like I said, on that very first face on the PP, when Robo got the puck, it went to the net.
Yes.
And then he took two more shots and it ultimately went into the net. And what happened? Roope knows he's shooting the puck. It just ends up being more direct and guys start gravitating to the net where otherwise they stay on the perimeter because we're trying to pass it around for the perfect play.
Sean, the power play tonight was 1 for 5, 8 minutes and 17 seconds. The other night, two games ago, you said you should not view 1 for 7 as a success because, they got a goal. They failed in what was it, 13 minutes out of 15. I thought more often than not tonight, the Stars created quality and high danger chances on the power play, even though they went 1 for 5. Is it looking a little better?
Yeah, it looked a little better. I'll give it that. Yeah, it looked a little better. I want to tinker and make it better overall. One thing I did want to bring up, just food for, and I don't know the answer on this. This just popped in my brain after Luds brought up the idea of throwing Lundqvist and Heiskanen together on the second unit. So much of the NHL right now, every single team runs basically the same power play setup effectively. There's different little tweaks here and there, but so much of the league now is that 1-3-1, right? The guy in front of the net, guy at the points, two flanks, bumper in the middle. There might be some little, but maybe if you're going to do a minute and a half of that and you're going to throw two defensemen out there, maybe you go and pull something out of the old playbook. Maybe you go with more of an overload. Maybe you go and pull out a more traditional umbrella for 30 seconds. And all of a sudden it's something that is different and penalty killers aren't used to playing all the time, because this the passive diamond, right? It's effectively designed to battle this 1-3-1. So maybe you go and throw something else a little bit differently, and maybe that's your selling point or trick or whatever, right? Where if, hey, we're going to run it this way like everyone else does when Harley's running Unit 1 and the second unit goes out with Heiskanen and Lundqvist both on it, and it looks a little different. It just, and I don't know if that would work or not. I don't know the full schematics. It's just, that is the thought that popped into my head when Luds brought up the idea of, hey, you do this with Miro, so they're both out there for the second unit.
Well, and Sean, when you talk about the overload, it really lends to more pucks going across the Royal Road. You know what I mean? Like you get somebody down on the goal line, and if a defenseman takes that away, generally he's taking away because he's playing in the middle between the two guys, and then he's kind of playing off the far post. So if, let's just say you have Wyatt playing to the right of the goaltender down the goal line, if it's taken away, you know what Wyatt does? He brings the puck right out and he tries to stuff it. And now all of a sudden there's pucks laying around there where guys collapse to the net. So yeah, it gives it what I would prefer. And I try to do it with our young guys, is I try to have two different power plays, so you don't go out there and you have a similar power. So one can be an overload. Maybe one is, uses the bumper.
Yeah.
Up next, we have some fun with Hot Sam here on the DLS Dallas Stars postgame show. Let's talk about Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. They have all sorts of wonderful styles. I have a pair of aviators with a nice colored tint on it. I think it was some sort of lagoonish, greenish blue look. Luds can't stand it because he missed the free pair that they got complimentary from the company. Just about everybody else did, although I think producer John didn't get them either. So we got to find a way. We've had a petition. Maybe we'll help them out. But you don't have to wait for that. You can go to shadyrays.com. You can check out all the styles, the colors, the different lens options. They're all polarized. Even you don't have to buy the top end version of their lenses to get the polarized ones, which is really great. And you will get the best lost and, of course, broken replacements. They have great protection, worry-free customer service. They handle their own warranties. There's never any problem with that. And exclusively for listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right. Speaking of which, look at Sean's shirt. Isn't it nice? It's the Skyline DLLS shirt. It is fantastic, and it looks great even when you're surrounded by a topiary or an arboretum or any other version where the plants are crawling on the walls. Scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen.
Oh,
now
man.
it keeps moving on him. Sean's now doing the hula.
I'm just done.
And Sean, besides that great t-shirt, if you want that shirt, you can go to alldls.com, click on merchandise, and order yourself the shirt. Or you can sign up to be a diehard, and you get, as part of your diehard subscription, a free t-shirt each year you sign up. And so in doing that, like where John is, John's found it right. There's the QR code right down there. If you're listening later, just go to alldls.com and click on diehard, and you can pick out that shirt, which I think is super sharp. That's the Dallas Skyline with DLS under it, or any of the other shirts that we have in our inventory. Plus, read all the stuff from Sean and Sam, who'll be joining us in just a moment, and all of the other great things. Speaking of which, we haven't had a Friday show in a while. Who knows when we will have one again because of all the games. But at some point, we got to do a Letty's Damn Discord again. You only get access to the Discord if you're a diehard. So sign up today. Okay, guys, it's time to welcome in Hot Sam, or as I like to call him, Mr. Roadside Assistance today. So, Sam, before we get to business, we have to talk about this picture that you shared with us and then with the world today, which is not how a wheel, rim, and tire are supposed to be fused into one symbiotic working relationship. What the heck happened?
Yeah, I was told by multiple sources that that's not how tires are supposed to work. Today, on my way to morning skate, I got on the 35 and felt my car start pulling to the left. So I rolled down the window, and before I had a second to react, that thing just absolutely exploded right off the rim. Had to get over 4 or 5 lanes on the 35, which is always a good time, just to get to the last bit of shoulder right next to the seafood kitchen. Which I used their bathroom twice while waiting for roadside assistance to come, as you boys know.
I did not need that visual.
And you have it seared into your brain now.
Rest of the show. And then we're going to ask Sam if he checked on Robo's foot, by the way. So I'm going to have a foot fetish. Yeah, in Sam's hinder.
Did you happen to notice the comment that was underneath Sam's tweet that he put out today?
Well, it wasn't a spotter.
It absolutely was.
Oh,
Why is this Steve Spot's fault?
Everything is.
Isn't it? So, Sam, how's the tire?
It is in my trunk. I have a spare on it, which I was told not to drive more than 10 miles on.
Oh, you got the little kitty tire on there? You got that little?
It is.
Oh, yeah?
Very small. Yep. So I got a ride from Robert Tiffin tonight to the game, which was very appreciated.
Nice.
He's out there. He's waiting for me right now.
Did you tell Sean about your idea for a podcast?
Oh, yeah, me and Robert were thinking. We thought of this thing called a car cast. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. We figure we talk about hockey and the Stars while in the car, which I think is just groundbreaking stuff.
Is there the bucket, or there's the bucket of beers up there right now, Sam?
It is. Do you want me to drink them all?
Well, yeah. Why don't you have one? I've always wondered this. When we're doing this show right now, I know where you are. I know the setting. I know there's a bucket of beers. Probably.
Tell Sean what you did 2 nights ago.
Like why?
I'm not a big beer guy. I was pretending to drink Brendan Smith's beer a couple of nights ago because it was sitting next to me in this booth. But I'm more of a stress ball kind of guy than a beer guy.
I'm figuring you squeezed that thing a few times while you were waiting for a tow truck.
Yeah, I just got it for Christmas for my girlfriend's mom, and I figured today's the perfect day to bust it
and
out.
It was a left side tire that blew out. Was that where it was?
Yeah, right, left side front. So it was fun. But the good news was when we were pulled over, people really were very generous in moving over, and they didn't just drive like within inches of my head while we were trying to change the tire.
Yeah.
Oh, sitting by the highway on the highway side of the car trying to change it. That's a very dangerous place to be.
I don't know. I just find this riveting.
Don't you?
Oh my gosh. This is awesome.
Well, now that we've been informed of Sam's what's the name of that? I just blanked on it. What's the old like 50s or 60s AAA, the guy that the service, the car club or the auto club or whatever it was. Remember that? Long time ago, like the original roadside assistance. I can't remember what it is now. We'll have to think about it.
Are you
not talking about AAA?
AAA? Are you talking about AAA?
No, way before that even. There was a different name of.
That's when Andy Griffith and
yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of, but I can't think of what it is.
I believe at that time it was just called double. It was just called AA. They just had.
I think it was old enough to be single A.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right, Sam. What's going on in the AAC right now, other than converting to a basketball arena?
Yeah, good. Some good vibes again. Obviously, we just talked about the streak. You got 3 wins in a row. They're scoring some goals. But the most important parts of the conversations with, first of all, Matt Duchene. I could talk to that guy for hours about hockey. He just gives the best answers. Talked to him a bunch about their line and their scoring overall, and he used the word dangerous. He said we felt like it's been coming ever since we started shifting up the lines a little bit the last couple of weeks. We really felt like it was coming together. In the last 3 to 4 games, they felt much more dangerous overall. And whether they were scoring or not, it didn't matter. They just felt like they were creating. And now they're putting the puck in the net as well. So I asked them if Wyatt Johnston brings a similar style of play to Tyler Seguin, because we talked about it on the show. He seems like a similar type of player in the sense that he's able to find those open spots really easily. He's a very, very cerebral player. Doesn't have to think a lot while he's on the ice. He's able to just get to those spots, and that's what made Duchene and Seguin so good at that 1-2 game was Sagan was able to find those open spots. Duchene was able to hit him, and Wyatt's able to do the same thing. But on top of that, Duchene talked about how both Wyatt and Jamie Benn are very strong on the puck, which allows Duchene to just go find open spots on the ice and not have to worry as much about getting in there to support. He actually said that's exactly what I want in a line. I don't want to have to worry about going and helping that guy in a one-on-one battle to win a puck. I want him to be able to control it, protect it, so I can just worry about finding the open space. And that's exactly what Wyatt Johnston and Duchene did on that goal. And that goal was important, right? We've talked a ton about that extending leads, and the New York Rangers game and the Toronto game were specific examples that come to mind for me and for Pete DeBoer on games where they should have won because they should have been up 2-0, 3-1, 4-1, whatever it was. But instead it was 1-0, or it was a 2-1 game or a 1-1 game because of, one, goaltending on the other side, but two, the ability not to put the puck in the net at a high enough rate when controlling play. And Pete DeBoer talked about how that he used those games as examples and said, look, you look at those games and those are the last couple we lost in regulation. And that's why, because of that specific reason. Whereas now they put the puck in the net one more time and extend it to 4-2, or they get the goal in Chicago early in the third, the two goals that extended that one and put that game away. And it just changes the whole vibe of the game and gives them the comfort to play the style they want to play. And he said with the way we play the game and how good our goaltending is and has been, if we can score 3, especially 4 in a game, it's going to be really hard for us not to pick up points every night. And I think that's key for this team right now.
We have another super chat, by the way. We'll get to, is this part of this conversation? And one other really funny thing. I have to bring this up. GM Benn says, damn, that absolutely needs to be a diehard exclusive video. Sam Nestler changes attire.
Ooh. So wait,
I mean, the other night, Lutz said he'd pay to watch Sam ride the mechanical bull outside the arena.
Which we never saw.
We never saw.
And
Two,
he said he was going to do it.
Now we need to see him try to change
I would
the tire.
do my best.
Well,
Sam,
skills.
Sam, did you help at all change the tire, or did the person just come and do it?
I will say this. I did not help, but I did watch, because guess what? I made a goal for 2025 today while I was sitting there writing articles, editing Sean's article, and doing everything else I could do while sitting in the car. And I said, I'm going to learn how to do this in 2025. So I watched him do it while being terrified of trucks flying by me. But no, I did not help.
I picture Sam like being the kid from A Christmas Story where he's holding the.
Did he say he's going to learn how to change the tire?
Yeah.
That's his 2025 year goal.
Sam is Ralphie from The Christmas Story holding the bucket of bolts, and he gets scared and he throws them and he says, "Oh fudge!" But he didn't say fudge because we're not allowed to say that other word because of the fast channel or whatever. So that's Sam.
It's pretty accurate. Pretty accurate.
They didn't have auto mechanics classes like that when you were in high school, Sam, where you went to school in Jersey there?
They did, but I didn't do a whole lot of going to class in high school.
You probably took typing, didn't you? You were the guy you were the one dude in the typing class, weren't you?
No, I actually didn't take any typing or writing classes. So
I
do with that what you will.
Well, now it all makes sense.
Well, Sam, one piece of advice, make sure you loosen the lug nuts before you jack up the tire or the car.
Yep.
That helps. Yep. All right. We have another super chat. Actually, we might have two. Michael Moore sends in a Madonna and Stanley Cup year. Do you break up the Duchene line when Mason comes back, knowing Tyler may not be healthy this year? Also, could you see the Stars going after I think he means Pettersson. Do you try Mason on the Maverick Logan line?
Well, on the Pettersson one, I know he's playing for Rogala right now, so I'm sure if you called them, you could probably get him back over here, right? We're talking about Jacob Pettersson. I'm assuming that's the only Pettersson we're talking about right now.
That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Dreadful.
I loved it.
Get us back on track, on.
Okay. Would you... I personally love... Well, actually, hold on. We're at that time. Let's continue this conversation. But first, we have to thank everybody for tuning in on our television platforms tonight. Make sure to like and subscribe here on the pod and check out alldls.com. Okay. Mason Marchment comes back. I think you have to put him with Matt Duchene. That means you have to move Jamie Benn somewhere else. But I think you got to keep Wyatt Johnston with those two.
Yeah.
Play him with Matt Duchene.
Yeah, of course. And I think the whole Tyler Seguin thing is, if that group, those three guys, for the next 2.5, 3 months, become what the Duchene, Seguin, Marchment line was, and they're clicking, just take Tyler and put him up there with Hintz and Robo.
He'd be fine.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think that you're going to split up a line that possibly has the same chemistry and Tyler will be able to adapt. I mean,
totally.
He's still going to be playing with, good players. I just think that if you've got one line over the course of whatever it's going to be when Tyler gets back, whether it's
let's call
2
it
months,
4
3
months.
months. Okay, 4 months. You're not going to say, okay, Tyler, you're coming back. You're going to do that.
Not if they're going.
I don't think you do that.
All right, there's another super chat because Michael put in another one.
Bing bong.
Another, this time Heiskanen and Cup here. Also wanted to ask Luddy, what happened on the ice? The goals happened the shift after. Is it players let up or the opposition feels the pressure?
So are we talking about like when Dallas scores 2-1 and then, somebody else comes back and scores? Or are you talking about when Dallas scores a goal?
It's kind of written like there's some Herman Marshall in this question, so I think it's open-ended. But let's say you score and the other team scores on the next shift.
Well, I think what happens is when you go up and it's 2-1, there's a lift. I mean, you feel good about where you're at. And if somebody comes back and scores right away, the opponent doesn't at 2-2, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, but, it's just a momentum. You know what? And momentum is what it is. Momentum is just a series of little moments that are put back to back to back. And that's how you create momentum. And it comes and it goes. That's why you'll hear
guys. The 2 goals in 30 seconds or a minute?
Well, that definitely, that gave momentum to the opponent tonight. That gave momentum. And then when Dallas comes back and scores, it takes it away, especially as a visiting team. I mean, you're down 1-0 and all of a sudden you're up 2-1. Of course, now you're feeling good about your team, your group, where you are in the game and things like that. But then, the home team comes back and ties it up 2-2. It's kind of back in. But then when the home team takes the 3-2 lead, now as the visitors, you're kind of going, especially a team that's been on the road. They got a 9-game road trip they're on, right? They've been on the road now for 7 games? Was tonight the 7th or 8th game or something like that? I
believe they have 1 or 2 more before. Yeah, so it might be 7 tonight.
So what happened? And they've had a pretty good road trip, all things considered. What they're on the road for 9 games. So all of a sudden they've won their last 2 games, and now you come back and you take the lead. And I think it kind of gets into your head as the game starts to move down a little bit. Well, you know what? We've had a pretty good road trip to this point because you're fatigued and you're tired of being on the road, frankly.
All right. We have a couple of things of business to attend to here. Let's start with the Herman Marshall Marquee moment of the game. Pick up your favorite bottle at your closest goody liquor store.
This may sound strange, but I'm going with Robo. And what I'm going with is that very first shot on the power play that was followed up a couple more, and ultimately there's a power play goal. I thought that set the tone for the group. I think it set the tone for Robo. Hintz got his first goal, and he got it from that area. So that one shot right there by Robo, I'm giving it to Jason Robertson for that initial shot to kind of set the tempo and the tone of what they were doing on that power play.
Well done, Sean. Way to point out the Herman Marshall Marquee moment of the game. For every bottle of single-barrel straight bourbon whiskey, Herman Marshall donates 15% of its revenue to the Guns and Hoses Foundation of North Texas. For those who went before, stop into your closest goody liquor store to find your favorite bottle. Boy, this is becoming a really weird title screen of the Brady Bunch. All right, let's do our man of the match. We'll start with the guy known as the member of the Motor Club, Sam Nestler.
Yeah, I was actually going to say Robo too, but I'm gonna say Hintz, but I want to say Robo and Hintz together. It's such a simple, stupid thing to say, but they are driving each other right now. Robo has 7 points in his last 3 games. Roope 7 goals in his last 8 games. I think that we always looked at this line as the right wing was the problem. We need to find the right wing. We need to find the right. Turns out we really just needed Robo to start getting going, and all of a sudden everything starts clicking. So very excited that that's happening, and I think it's obviously massive for this team. So I'm going to give it to Roope.
Sean?
I'll go with Robertson then. I know Sam was trying to combine them into one, but since he can't do that, I will take Robertson. I will take Robertson here.
Cheater.
I'll break the tie and go with Roope.
Yeah, I mean, he scored 2 huge goals tonight. He almost had the hat trick empty netter.
Now, if you take Robo, we would be right because it should be both of them.
Robo was fantastic tonight.
Yeah, they both were.
I want to give a shout out to Wyatt Johnston.
Yeah.
Why? 2 points tonight. Great assist on the Duchene goal. Duchene had another couple of points to add to his team lead in points. And Wyatt has a 5-game point streak, and he has 8 points during that span. We heard about the 3-game point streak for Jason Robertson.
Hey, are we going to talk about the kid that had his first NHL game tonight? Besides going 6-0 in the faceoff circle, thoughts? You thought he was great, Sam?
Wow, that was so loud.
That might not be good for Sam.
Maybe that's louder there than in our speakers, which is much quieter.
Turn that down a bit. Yeah, I thought he was really good. I think watching him play the game, exactly what we talked about in the pregame is what he did, right? He was 6 for 6 on the faceoffs, big, physical. He crashed the net a ton. I saw him battling in front. One of the things the Stars don't do enough of, and that's what he was doing a ton in the game. And that line, whoever it has been throughout the season with whether it's Blackwell, Bork, Beck, Steele when he's there, they've created so much in the offensive zone. And even when they don't score, they just create chaos in the offensive end. And if your fourth line can go out there and do that consistently, it takes so much pressure off of your top 6 because now you're making other teams defend in their own end. But I thought Huru was really good. I thought he was solid in both ends. And the faceoffs, it may not seem big, but 6 for 6 on faceoffs 6 for 6 on faceoffs as a rookie in your NHL debut is saying a lot, right? We've seen so many players struggle in the NHL to win faceoffs, and I just thought he was really solid overall, and I think he is a very good fit for this team right now.
He was confident. That was my biggest takeaway from it, watching him play. He was confident. He didn't come in timid. He didn't have any of the "this is my first game" type jitters, whatever you want to call it. And he just had the confidence that's been growing that we've seen it recently in Texas, and we see it kind of roll into this. And he didn't, even though his game was a bit different, he wasn't on the first power play unit, he wasn't getting the 22 minutes a night. He still had confidence. And so that's what I saw.
Yeah. And one more quick shout out to Jamie Benn, who tacked on another point. Got a goal tonight, was a turning point in the game. The other night against Buffalo, I thought he was the best player on the ice and didn't have any points to show for it. He had so many chances, and he just continues to be playing really, really good hockey. And at this stage of his career, the Pete DeBoer systems, the things they're asking of him, it couldn't have been a better time for Pete to coach the Stars for Jamie Benn, because, Sean, we were at a point, and we've talked about this at length, where it looked like he was going to be a detriment to the team, not a benefit. And that is completely turned around with the way that they're asking him to play under Pete DeBoer.
Yeah, and give Jamie a ton of credit for what he's done. And there was the whole Renaissance season and everything like that. That was really the building, the Marquee rebuild, or whatever terminology you want to use, right? Where he reestablished his career. But it's one thing to reestablish it in 1 year and then continue for that to be consistency. And I think that's something that can kind of get a little bit lost. We talk all the time about players finding consistency. We talked a lot about Hintz, right? Where I said, hey, I think we asked about the 60-goal thing, right? Like, it could be a 60-goal scorer if he was just consistent. He did it over and over and over and over again. And Jamie has consistently found consistency. I realize that is a terrible phrasing of words, but whatever. And
he's a writer.
It is exactly with a writer with a face for radio,
professional writer.
And give him a ton of credit for how he's built on everything. And it wasn't just a one-off, hey, he refound his game in 1 year and then cratered after that. He continued to stay consistent.
All right, guys. Last thing. Can you believe it has been 5 years since the Stars hosted the Nashville Predators in the 2020 Winter Classic at the Cotton Bowl? It seems like a lot has happened since then, yet I can still very vividly remember that entire experience. And especially on the heels of the Winter Classic now being played on New Year's Eve at Wrigley Field, where Chicago got their doors blown off. Not all that surprising by St. Louis, but it was arguably one of the greatest single event days in Dallas Stars franchise history, right? Now, You may argue playoff moments, playoff series, the Stanley Cup win rank higher. But one day in Dallas, one of the coolest experiences I think Stars fans have ever had. 85,000 fans. Troy Aikman dropping the puck, the ceremonial puck beforehand. The old World War II fighter planes doing the flyover. The pig races. Obviously, trying to get into the Cotton Bowl, an old or antiquated stadium, was kind of tough with that crowd, but everything was just really magical. The weather cooperated. What were your thoughts about that? Sean, we'll start with you.
My first thought was that I'll always go back to is the atmosphere around the game. Because if you'll remember, when it first happened, the NHL was going to have no tailgating. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but one of the things that they originally was like, they're not going to allow tailgating. And there was a giant pushback and vocal pushback against that. And then thus relented and allowed tailgating. And I remember driving down there early that morning. Obviously, it was the first day of the year, and driving down there early that morning. And I spent about 2.5 hours walking around and talking to different tailgates. And one of my favorite stories that I think I've ever written was about just the tailgate at the Winter Classic. And I'll remember a story where I walked over and there was a group of people, and they brought up they had a portable toilet set up. Little portable toilets, a little pop-up toilet, and as I'm talking to them, there's a couple kids playing street hockey nearby and everything like that. And Luz is going to love this story, so make sure he's paying attention. Owen, give him a tap. And
he's still awake.
Okay. and a kid falls and starts crying, and then one of the dads downs the rest of his beer. And I'm looking around and like, well, that's the rule. Your kid cries, you finish your beer. And so that was the that was the drinking game. And so I remember just the atmosphere around there, and then the game itself just added everything on top of that. The atmosphere was great, but just kind of the whole from the morning through the game. The Radulov goal in front of that crowd was amazing on the power play there. To me, it's one of those like great moments. And there's times like we can kind of get caught in sports media where we're trying to be, I don't know, kind of clean and try to just cover the moment. But there's also time like I'm really happy that one of the things I did for that game was I watched the third period just from like the concourse. I went down and watched it from the concourse, to be outside, to be in the elements of it, and just kind of soak it all in. And it's one of my favorite memories from covering the Stars.
Sam?
Yeah, I was actually a fan only for that one. My roommate and I lived in Austin and drove up for the game, stayed over for a night before, and then went there early. Same thing as Sean was saying. It was so cool with the fair, trying to get in all those games, whether it was hockey or classic fair games. I can imagine there were millions of calories eaten by those fans on that day with the food that was available. Met the great Matt DeFranks walking into the arena, which was a glorious day for all. I'm sure as big for him as it was for me. But I remember distinctly we were sitting up in the upper deck, and I believe the Stars went on a power play at the end of the second. And I told my roommate, I said, I don't think they're going to score. Teams never seem to score when you get that period in between and the power play gets thrown off. And I felt like the game might not go the way the Stars wanted. And then they get I believe, Janmark deflection off his shin. And then obviously, as Sean said, the Radulov goal, which I still think was the loudest cheer I've ever heard in my life in person. Just the crowd erupting around the crazy fireworks once the Stars won, watching Corey Perry walk for 3.5 miles to get off after he got ejected in the first period. It was just such a fun day. And I honestly, I would love to have covered it for a lot of the reasons, to get in the room and have all that access. But seeing that as a fan, it was one of the last games I ever went to as a fan. And it was just one of the better days of my life, and well worth the investment to get up here and pay for those tickets. And a huge moment for the Stars that will never be forgotten.
Luds?
Well, let's see. Sean said there was no tailgating. I beg to differ.
No, he said they originally weren't going to allow it. There was. In fact, he was at one.
Well, but yes. I had a different kind of tailgating. So at 8 a.m., Eddie Belfour was launching.
I need a Miller Lite.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of those. But Belfour was launching his Belfour Spirits at the time. So at 8 a.m., there was this venue that we were having a little meet and greet. Well, it wasn't little, but we had a meet and greet for about an hour and a half. And so Eddie, myself, some of the other guys, JR was there, Jeremy Roenick was there. And so that was our breakfast. And then at 10 a.m., I had to walk through a bunch of people, and I had to go host the Spit and Chiclet guys. And so that turned into the Pink Whitney.
The lunch?
Kitty Cotton lunch. That was 10 a.m.
Oh, so it's just brunch.
Yeah, that was brunch. And so about after 3 hours of that, Belfour and I were going on with Mike Tirico on, I guess that would have been NBC.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
and I'm trying to get my feet back underneath me, and we're sitting up in this little thing up there. And so Tirico asked me something, and I don't remember what I said, but then I knew he starts talking to Eddie, and I kind of checked out a little bit and kind of looking around. And then Eddie's answer was, I don't know about that. Ask Luds. And I don't even know what the hell the question was. So I kind of ad-libbed something. And then from there, it was very nice because obviously there was a lot of Stars fans there. So now Kim and I, we tried to, get in where we were going to go sit. But the good news is as soon as you walked in the stadium, people were recognizing who everybody is. And it was, can I get you a beer? Can I get you a beer? So it was one of them kind of days. And
those are your favorite days.
I believe that I said, we're leaving the vehicle here and we're taking an Uber home. So about $150 later, we made it somewhere and made it back. So, yeah, I wish we could, how many has Chicago had? How many had, where are we at with all this?
So
2 at Wrigley, right?
I think yesterday was their 7th outdoor game, I think.
Yeah.
For the
franchise.
For the franchise.
Yes. Yeah. 7th for them yesterday. Was their 7th outdoor game. So
has there, to you two guys over there on the little screen must know who's had the biggest crowd, or how is it rated in there? How does that go?
The largest, so the Cotton Bowl one was the second largest crowd. The largest was the one, the Detroit
at the Big
Toronto
House.
One, at the Big House in Ann Arbor.
That's right.
Which was
yeah. Does Dallas not deserve another one?
I was just wondering, with Dallas being a good team, why they wouldn't pick Dallas to be the road team for one of these games. They're talking about Florida hosting an outdoor game at the Miami Marlins baseball stadium. Now, maybe
why not play Edmonton?
Maybe that's a Tampa versus Florida Panthers game, but
I can tell you why. Well, I can tell you why it's not Edmonton. It's because it is largely driven by TV right now, and now the rate. That's the reason the Winter Classic is such a TV driven product. It's the reason the Winter Classic this year was on New Year's Eve as opposed to New Year's Day, because Turner was scared about going head to head rating wise with the college football playoff on January 1. And so while it was an amazing atmosphere, it was awesome for everyone there. To me, it's one of the most memorable ones. My pal Greg Wyshynski over at ESPN recently went and ranked all of the Winter Classics. I think he had the one in the Cotton Bowl either third or fourth, I think he had it fourth behind the original one in Buffalo, the one at the Big House, and then the original Wrigley Field one, which was Detroit and Chicago, when both were actually decent. But that Dallas-Nashville one of the unfortunate long-term things that probably hurt the Stars was, at that time, it was the lowest rated Winter Classic of all time, ratings-wise. And TV numbers and ratings drive so much for the Winter Classic. That's why the Blackhawks are back in it all the time. Chicago's one of the largest TV markets.
Well, if that's the case, wouldn't they have the Buffalo Sabres involved? Because Buffalo frequently leads as far as percentage of hockey viewers and big events.
Well, that's why the Sabres have been in more games than some other teams.
Yeah.
But it's the same reason that Philly, you look at it now, works because they're a natural rival for Pittsburgh. But one of the other reasons that Philadelphia is in so many is Philly and Boston are also, when it comes to local TV viewership and ratings, Philly and Boston are consistently 1 and 2 in pure viewership. So it's the TV ratings drive so much of what the Winter Classic is. Now, and I think, from a Stars perspective, I don't know. I've talked to Brad Alberts after that event. I don't know if they want to do another one like that. It's such a nice frozen in time singular event for them.
Would it be hard to top that in Dallas?
I think so. I think it would be very hard to top that. It would be very hard to top that. I think the Stars. I don't think the Stars would have any issue ever being an away team at a stadium series or something like that.
Sean, I was disappointed a couple years ago when Minnesota got to host their game and Dallas wasn't the opponent. That would have been really fun.
They picked Chicago.
Yep.
The Wild and the league, the Wild and the TV networks in the league picked Chicago. That was
There you go.
That was
Blackhawks again.
It's the fact of the matter is the Blackhawks they are a huge TV rating, and
I have two things I want to share real quick from my own experience. One was I wasn't as hyped about the outdoor game, the Winter Classic in Dallas, going into it as some people were, because it felt like it wasn't as exciting as it was when it first became a thing in the NHL. And then we went, worked the game, did the broadcast, all that stuff, and you realize Sean talks about TV ratings, and that is very important. The Winter Classic is a live event experience of a lifetime for many sports fans.
Yeah.
It's one of the better sporting events I've been to in a long time. The last 5 years or so, I think the top two things that I've both worked and attended, and I didn't go to any of the Rangers World Series games, which I'm sure were phenomenal, but it was the Winter Classic, and 2 years ago when Lionel Messi played at FC Dallas up in Frisco, 4-4 insane game. They lose on penalties. It was a ridiculously incredible thing, especially to have one of the greatest players to ever play soccer in Dallas. I also wanted to point out one quick thing because some people in our chat were talking about some of the connections. Matt Duchene scored the first goal of the game in the Winter Classic for the Nashville Predators on the power play, which was after the Corey Perry elbowing penalty. And our buddy Colin Blackwell took multiple penalties, including, Sam, the delay of game puck over the glass that led to that carryover power play that Janmark scored early in the third period. So one of the things that was great for me about that game is that I believe the estimates were about 20,000 of the 85,000 were Nashville traveling fans. And you could see their bright yellow scattered in clumps around their seating areas in the Cotton Bowl. It wasn't quite Texas OU where you have, the colors change at the 50-yard line. But it was so neat to have both sets of fans there because I think that made the atmosphere that much better.
One last thing, and before, we also have to remember, when you're remembering that day, Andre Sekera scored a goal in that game.
Yes,
and that's
on a
something
rebound.
we have to always remember. Andre Sekera, it took him he hadn't scored a goal indoors for 4.5 months, but he did score one outdoors. So.
It's funny, we're talking about one of the biggest days in Dallas Stars history, and Owen still has a way of getting a soccer reference into this
I
whole
knew that was coming.
Yeah, what does he do? Well, the Radulov power play goal of that game, like you said, all the things, the walk of shame for Corey Perry, the fact that Blake Como and Andre Sekera scored the Janmark power play goal, but that Radulov goal, everybody knew that was the play, right? The puck, move it around to his one-timer, and they couldn't stop it. And his celebration, Alexander Radulov was known for maniacally insane Tasmanian devil-style plays and celebrations, and we got exactly that. The place literally shook its foundation, and he did that sort of incredible Hulk celebration right in front of the national TV cameras. It was a really special moment.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching. That was our little Winter Classic reminiscing. Don't forget that we have yet another game. I don't think Sean is working his third game of the week, but we will have pregame for Saturday. Stars against the Utah Hockey Club. First time they come to Dallas, but third game of the season series will be Saturday night at the AAC.
Expect Casey DeSmith in there.
Yes.
It's
against. I can't do 3 games in a week, but Casey DeSmith can play Utah every day a week and twice on Sunday. So it's
6:15 is the pregame show right here. Sam will be here, Luds will be here, I'll be here, and our producer John will be here as well.
And we do have to hit this before we go.
Bing bong.
We have another super chat. A little Lundqvist and Lindell from Corey Too Far went into the game worried it was a losable game. Boys look solid, hoping we carry it forward for 5 or 6 games and make up some ground in the Central. Well, they have points in 5 straight games, so that is 5 or 6. But, Luddy, the way that the teams above them, especially Winnipeg and Colorado, are going,
you got to keep pace with them.
Points in 5 or 6 isn't enough to charge them down. You got to keep going.
You
Colorado just made another comeback.
You know what you do? You quit looking at that stuff and take care of your own business. And let it all fall where it falls.
Especially for game 37, right? Yeah. Game 38 on Saturday. Long way to go. Let's revisit this and you get past the Four Nations tournament. By the way, go Team USA, as they are still standing, unlike our friends up north in Canada in the World Juniors. For Sean Shapiro, for Sam Nestler, for Craig Ludwig, for our producer John Anderson, I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you Saturday. Till then, so long, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.